Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm really thrilled and pleased to have with me as my guest Benjamin Sadun, who's a partner at Dechert. Benjamin, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored. I've watched in the past. Great to be here.
Fantastic. Now, I know you have this interesting expertise in privacy, and we'll get to that, but maybe you can start this by telling me why you went to law school in the first place.
Well, it dates back to when I was 6 or 7, and
Okay.
I first learned the story of the Boston Massacre and specifically John Adams' role. I was very impressed by that anecdote. So, as people know, 1770, March, cold day, colonists are taunting the British soldiers. So, this is the precursor to the Revolutionary War. And suddenly, 5 Americans are slaughtered, point blank, cold blood, and everyone wants to hang them on the spot. But John Adams, a local resident, insisted that they actually get a fair trial. And when no one was willing to stand up for the British, he took it upon himself to do so. And this is the same man that would later go on to be America's second president. And yet he was willing to defend the worst of the worst. And it's because he really believed everyone deserves a fair defense. And he not only defended them, but he won. He got 6 acquittals. And though everyone spat at him in the moment, they remembered him for being a true patriot, for doing the right thing. And he also opened his closing in that case with my favorite line of all time, which is facts are stubborn things. I really try to live by that maxim. And so since then, I've known I wanted to be a litigator and specifically a courtroom litigator, just like my role model, John Adams.
No, that's so interesting. And so when you went to law school, that was your pursuit and desire, and you've never wavered from that, or did you end up switching from there?
No, never wavered. I come from a family where everyone else for 3 generations has gone to MIT, or every male in my family. So everyone's math and science. I knew I wanted to chart a different path. And so early on, I decided it was going to be law for me. I really liked the power of advocacy and rhetoric. And so that seemed like the perfect combination. And so I went straight from college to law school and straight from law school to being a litigator.
Interesting. And what did your parents think? Were they disappointed you didn't continue the family science generation?
I think confused more than disappointed.
Yeah.
But they knew it was the right thing for me. I mean, since I was a little kid, I was always getting in trouble and talking my way out of it. For me, I really almost would enjoy getting in trouble just to see if I could convince someone it was the right thing. I took outrageous, positions. I did, as so many do who are lawyers, like speech and debate all throughout high school. I was ranked #1 in the United States for a period, represented the US at the World Championships. So I was very clearly on this path.
Yeah,
I knew
interesting.
it was the right thing for me.
I'm assuming when you got to law school, it was like a duck to water then?
Absolutely. I loved it. I was really happy to be there, both because I was the only member of my family to have not gone to school in Boston, and this was my chance. And that is, of course, the setting for the Boston Massacre. And it's actually John Adams' alma mater, but just the people, the conversations. It was so intellectually stimulating. It was the best 3 years of my life. Don't tell my wife that because we didn't really start dating till afterwards, but that was the best.
Got it. Well, she might listen to this podcast, but so obviously you want to be a litigator, but there's a lot of things that could be a lot of areas. Tell me a little bit how you got into the area that you're currently in then.
Absolutely. So I focus and specialize in the intersection of privacy and technology. And that was something that I took probably 5 or 6 years to stumble into. But once I had my first exposure working for an electric car company startup that was also doing AI and self-driving, I immediately just glommed on. I mean, probably as a function of growing up in a math and science family,
Yeah.
that really made me comfortable with that language. And so to apply science and technology to law was just so exciting. And also, it was clear where things were heading. I mean, even 7, 8 years ago, I became obsessed with AI. And it was clear to me that ultimately the thing that's going to matter most for AI's future is going to concern privacy. Because look, there's only 3 bottlenecks to building an amazing AI system. You need algorithms, but those are becoming commodities, right? DeepSeek proved that. Llama, Facebook's model, is open source. So anyone can just take a free, cutting edge, state-of-the-art model from anyone else. So you don't need that. Anyone with enough money can buy H100 clusters from NVIDIA. So you can't really outcompete doing that. what distinguishes AI models and what's going to define our future is really who has more data and the quality of that data. And there's just no way to collect data without infringing on people's privacy. It's about how much privacy are people willing to give up in order to get something in return. So I saw the writing on the wall, and it was just a perfect match for both my skill set and interests. So I'm really happy I made that choice.
Amazing. So give me a little bit of sense of the kinds of cases you litigate now, or what does your practice look like?
Sure. I am routinely negotiating with state attorney generals in their investigations. I'm also dealing with like congressional oversight committees and Congress itself. But I would say my bread and butter is really privacy class action lawsuits, both in the United States and all over the world. Right now, I'm litigating cases in Israel, Spain, Portugal, Canada, but also 8 consolidated class actions in the Northern District of California. And in these cases, I'm typically representing a technology company that is alleged to have wrongly either collected or more often shared sensitive personal user information. So right now, I represent Flow Health, which is the #1 most downloaded health application all over the world. 1 in 3 women between ages like 15 and 35 use this app. It helps them track their periods and fertility. And they are alleged to have wrongly shared certain information with Google and Facebook. So I have that case. I've done other cases for other technology companies. A lot of the cases nowadays are also involving biometrics. So you're taking a picture of someone and maybe making a new magic avatar for them. But how are you doing that? Are you training your AI data set based on those pictures? And so, new technologies are applying AI every day, but fundamentally, the only way they work is by drawing insights from personal information.
Yeah, interesting. So you talked a little bit about how your interest in technology or maybe your family background has helped you. So do you have to really understand, how this data is stored and how it's used and what kind of algorithms are processed? Tell me a little about the technology side of what's important in doing these cases.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is very important to understand the underlying technology. And though I have no formal education in that, I say, the dinner conversations growing up and still to this day are really the basis of my education. And it's just something that I keep up on. I read about constantly. When I have questions, I have close family members that I can ask. And so, my cousin, who also lives in Los Angeles, actually San Francisco now, but is the CTO of an AI unicorn company. And so I just have a lot of people in my orbit dealing with the technology side of these same issues. So it's easy for me to have those conversations with CTOs and CEOs of technology companies. And it is very important to understand how they're using this information on a technology level.
Yeah, I'm sure. Have you ever taken any programming classes, though, just for fun or anything?
I've self-taught myself some, but I am by no means a programming wizard. Although, frankly, that's becoming an unnecessary skill set with AI, right? Programming jobs are disappearing every single day. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I am on the fence whether I should teach her programming because I really don't think that's going to be a necessary skill set unless you're the world's best programmer that are really tweaking these AI written code sets. I don't think that's a needed skill set anymore. But no, there's still a lot of technology that I have to learn every day, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, so interesting. Now, do you spend a lot of times just studying there's just such a proliferation of AI going on out there. Do you study that? I mean, even that's just for your own education and knowledge?
Yeah, I was doing it for a couple of years before these cases really fell into my lap.
Yeah.
So I try to continue to keep up with it now.
Yeah.
I've been really busy lately. I have cases that are going to start trial in the next month and a half. So I've had less time more recently, but AI reinvents itself every 8 months. And so you have to. And I don't foresee that pace slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, interesting. Now, before you got into this AI privacy, just curious, going back to law school, what kind of litigator did you think when you first started you were going to be? What was your plan back then?
I romanticized criminal law as a child,
Okay.
going back to those days, but I never really seriously entertained it out of law school. Very few people in my class, I really didn't know anyone going into criminal law.
Yeah.
And so that somehow disappeared from my objectives. But I still follow criminal law. I still have deep respect. I was a research assistant for a period doing work with Alan Dershowitz, obviously a famous criminal law lawyer. And
No.
so I did the Harvard Defenders Program also during law school. So I
Okay.
had some exposure and
Yeah.
experience with criminal law,
Yeah.
but it's an interest, probably not the thing that I can be the best at.
In your line of work, do many cases go to trial or very rarely?
So this case, the Flow Health case, seems destined for trial. We're
Mm,
certainly prepared for that. I think it's very likely.
mm.
I've taken 4 cases to verdict
Okay.
across my experience, and that was mostly representing Johnson and Johnson.
Okay.
I would say most cases settle early, just before trial, or maybe 1 week into trial. But sometimes when it's really an existential matter, they do go all the way.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I certainly love that part of it. And
Yeah,
for me, there's
interesting.
nothing better than being in the courtroom.
Did you ever, by any chance, try being a transactional lawyer? Did you maybe work as a summer clerk doing some corporate law or anything like that, just to make sure that's not for you?
To this day, I don't know what they do. I have deep respect for them. They're friends. I know they're smart people, but I genuinely have no clue what they do. My wife is a urologist. I have a better understanding of what she does. I could maybe, with a blindfold, offer some bad medical advice, but no, I don't know what's going on over there.
That's funny. Well, Benjamin, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love interviewing lawyers who love what they do, and thanks so much for taking the time to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
This is Richard Hsu and Benjamin Sadun. Thanks.